Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of E-Kompetition. Today it's me, Satvik again. Megash will join us eventually. But who we have here today is someone close to a couple of members of ViDe E-Sports. I'm guessing he's a huge believer in the esports scene in India itself. It's Kashish from TXC Gaming. Hey bro, thanks for joining us. And
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to this.
yeah, cool. And before I get into, talking about TXC Gaming, your origin story and everything, give us an idea why TXC? Like, what's TXC about?
Oh man, I was hoping you would not ask that question because of how baseless an argument I have for it. But basically, I started off with two other friends from school, and the thing was initially toxic gaming. And as time passed by, I realized not a very good name. So I kind of just got rid of the vowels, and I was left with TXC. And it doesn't really stand for toxic gaming anymore, but I've just let it stick, whatever.
Work. I don't. I think a lot of people, ideate on the logo and the name, and they just don't put in any execution. So anything works. um,
That's the
Yeah, so let's start off. Based on what I know, y'all are an up and coming esports company. At least that's what you strive to be. So why don't you go ahead and give us the origin story and yeah, go for it.
Of course, of course. I probably had this idea first when one of my friends in school decided to start organizing tournaments in his apartment complex, like Black Ops 2 tournaments. All right. And for me personally, I started gaming when I was about 11, 12. I got my first PS3, PS2, so I've been gaming for a while. And I always felt there was this like lack of like platform for people like semi-casual and casual gamers to come together and express themselves. Like I remember moving to Bangalore and going to the Alienware Lounge, and my mind was absolutely freaking blown because I was coming from Delhi, and there was nothing of that sort in Delhi back in 2012, 2011. Okay, so when I moved to Bangalore and I came to the Alienware Gaming Lounge, it was a new world for me. It was amazing. And then so that thought was always there at the back of my head. Then I came to Joseph's, right? This is first year, and I saw like the seniors, like Satvik will know this, people in your class, and like people in college, they're just like hustling and kind of doing their own thing. People just a little bit older to me, some people younger to me. Now that I look at some of our juniors, they're super ambitious. So but at the time it was like, yo, these people are doing whatever they have like gotten their head, and it's actually just like getting down to doing it. So that's when I kind of had the idea of starting off first with the Fortnite tournament. And this was when Fortnite was becoming popular, and Drake had gone onto Ninja's stream, and it's like, oh, it's cool to be gaming now. But before that, it was, you're a fucking nerd. So this was really nice, a refreshing change. And man, that was kind of like a snowball effect. And so tournaments have been there from the start, but now just trying to manage it on my own. The friends I initially started off with, they're no longer a part of it. But so right now I'm kind of working on my own. So I'm trying to focus on things which I can learn and manage the best on my own. That's content creation and small scale tournaments. So that's TXC Gaming in like short for you.
That's super
I
cool.
think there's a
Megash finally joined us.
there's
That's
quite a
good.
lot of similarities, I think, in how esports and TXC came to be. Then I think Sarthak could probably be able to agree on that, and I think it's cool you brought up the whole fact of college as well. Because funnily enough, like the whole concept of esports is something that I actually picked up on once I met you. Because I remember that we had this session with this class when college started, where Ayush and I were part of this club. So it was like an entrepreneurship club essentially. So we were just trying to get feedback on what people are trying to do, right? And the rest of the class was like just regular on the beat stuff, like whatever you would expect, right? And there was Kashish talking about esports, and I'm like, okay, cool. I've heard of this before, but I've never really met someone that actually wants to do something there, right? And I think that was the first time I actually went back home and checked out esports. Like, whoa, this must be up and coming if people are actually considering it, right? So that's actually pretty funny because I think after I met you is probably when I got to reading about it a little bit more. But yeah, and I think Kashish, I think he needs to be appreciated because if I'm not wrong, Kashish, you were also part of this. investor platform as well, right? Where you did get funding for your esports idea as well.
Yeah. So basically, this happened in February, where college organized this whole investors pitch kind of thing, right? Where they had, I think, some couple of two ex-alumni come and listen to the ideas of the students and whatever it may be, and that was really interesting because this happened in February, so this is not even that long ago. This
Yeah.
happened in February, and it had been about 6 months before since I had organized any kind of event or anything. So one thing is that TXC during the second year ended up taking a lot of my time, and like mentally I just could not do it. And I'm doing it alone, right? So I don't have a partner, I don't have anybody else. So it was really hard to kind of manage that in college. So it was like it was in the backseat for about 6 months until February, where this happened. And I actually did not really take it that seriously until I started putting the plan together myself and realizing that there's actually something here that I can actually do. And I went there, I presented it to him, and these guys were like really surprised. And because I bet they didn't expect me to have actually organized tournaments in the past and then be successful. They didn't expect to see tangible results. They expected ideas. So that's what I think really sold them on it. And however, since then, since the coronavirus outbreak and all that shit, since about March, March is the last time I kind of spoke to him and I said, hey, we both came to the understanding that, we're going to put this on pause until like the whole outbreak kind of gets under control and we can start meeting in person. But we were just reaching the financial part of it, something which I'm not too experienced in. So they were going to help me out with that and iron out those details. But this whole, fucking shit happens. So that's a bit on pause with the investor at least.
Makes sense. Completely understandable. I mean, on that note, when we first started off with esports, Satvik actually mentioned you to me. I was like, dude, you got to talk to this guy. He's been, talking about esports for the longest time. He's the only guy I know who's, been talking about esports. So yeah, that's how it made sense for you to even bring you onto the podcast. You know, reassurance from someone like Satvik. And probably the next question for me, honestly, would be: you said you're involved in Fortnite. I think I saw you being involved in a couple of FIFA games as well, if I'm not wrong, at specific gaming lounges itself. So I think you have like a partnership or a relationship with them. Till date, and you spoke about Call of Duty Mobile as well, which is the most recent, which we'll get into it in a bit. But until the Call of Duty Mobile, or including it itself, I just wanted to know, which do you think you hosted the best? Like which ran well, according to you?
Ah, that's a good one because each tournament had their own I've organized in FIFA, Fortnite, and Super Smash Ultimate, and now Call of Duty Mobile. Okay, so one thing is that FIFA was a sport, as a game, a game. I really am not a big FIFA player. All right, so this is something I had to learn from ground up and talk to people and learn on the go by organizing the first tournament and finding out, okay, there's a lot of things you do and you don't do. So one of the FIFA tournaments where we got sponsored by this college called Backstage Pass Institute of Gaming and Technology. This was, I'm forgetting the date. I can't believe I'm forgetting the date, but it was sometime last year. And we had organized this tournament at their new facility in Koramangala. Okay, so the college had just launched and they had classrooms full of like TVs and like computer systems ready to go. And they weren't state of the art or whatever, but they let us use it for free. And they sponsored the prize pool also for about 20-25 grand, forgetting the exact number. And that was probably the most smooth tournament in terms of just how it went down, right? We didn't hit the number we wanted to. That was, we wanted to get at least 40 participants. We ended up getting about 29-30. Okay, and but that really wasn't the important thing. The thing was that I was able to execute it smoothly. The tournaments before that, they always had some kind of hitch, some kind of problem, and they were at the living room gaming lounge. And while the venue was amazing, it's got a great vibe to it, there were just too many people in one place. It was getting hot. The systems, one of them wasn't working, and I wasn't experienced enough. to actually handle that. And by the time I reached this particular tournament, which was Backstage Pass Institute of Gaming and Technology, their tournament where they sponsored us, I feel like I had ironed out and gotten into the whole mindset of being able to organize a tournament a whole lot better. So probably that one will be, in my opinion, the smoothest and my favorite. So
So yeah, that's pretty cool that you said FIFA, because I think Satvik plays a lot of FIFA too. And Meghar, who's just joined with us, we basically call him like a hacker because we play FIFA every time at his place, and he just keeps out of the blue getting the ball and scoring. So amongst us, we call him a hacker. So that's how good he is in FIFA. So on those lines, boys, do you all have like specifics to FIFA, like questions for Kashish?
Maybe
Yeah,
what was
so
the? Yeah, go for it, Mike.
yeah, so where do you guys exactly get players from? Like any individual colleges or individual players who take part in such prestigious tournaments? So that's what I wanted to ask. Like, how do you put out the word, and how do players get to know that such tournament exists and stuff like that?
So I'll tell you one thing is that um, one thing I had absolutely no doubt about was that there'd be an audience coming. I had absolutely zero doubt in the fact that there are going to be people coming to these tournaments. I was just unsure of the number. I didn't know if it was going to be 20 people or I didn't know if it was going to be 60 people, right? So that's one thing I cannot really say on is a number. However, having been playing video games for ages, I've been playing it for half my life. I'm 19 now, and I've been playing it since I was 9. So from the PS2, I've been watching so much of YouTube, following the esports scene, various games, and I just realized and I understood one thing, that you got to just put the word out there on social media, and it's like, you know it's like a magnet. It's like a magnet. You have the correct you have the correct demographic, and Bangalore is perfect in that sense. In my opinion, I don't think any other city would do as well as Bangalore, because simply for the fact that personal experience shows that they're really receptive to new things. If I try the same thing in Delhi, I don't know how it would be. Bombay, I don't know how it would be. I can't comment on that. But Bangalore, definitely very receptive audience. And Instagram promotions, I remember running Instagram promotions. I don't know how I got the idea to run promotions. I think it was the most basic, most instinctive thing to gravitate towards when you're trying to put something out there. It was Instagram promotions, and their targeting options are fantastic, and their reach was fantastic. And that's kind of how you really go about it, is you start with one tournament. And I remember one thing, my goal organizing the first tournament was to get a money shot, which was have a picture of me handing a big ass check to a player, which is going to be used as proof that my shit is legit. It's like, yeah, I'm actually like, like unlike a lot of other companies that say, oh, there's above 1 crore prizes, 1 lakh prizes, fucking everything. Like, nah, I'm actually going to there's going to be a picture of me giving money to these guys, because I don't want any bullshit like, oh, you're going to get 1 lakh worth of goods in fucking coupons. No, like actual money, so like that was one thing which helps attract people, is legitimacy. you know you got to be
Yeah,
legit.
yeah. And the other thing is, since FIFA being an OG game, what do you expect of Call of Duty? Since I heard you hosted a recent tournament, how do you expect Call of Duty, to gather a lot of audiences as well as players? What do you think about that?
I'm so optimistic, because I'll tell you one thing. The first game I played seriously comparatively was Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the PS3.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember after Call of Duty Ghosts, the franchise kind of went down the shitter. They released a bunch of shitty games up until like last year, which was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then they were just suddenly out of nowhere, Call of Duty. People were saying it's a dead franchise. No, nobody fucking likes COD anymore or whatever. But with the new game, they really hit it out of the park. And with Warzone, which is a free to play, like one thing is, free to play games are just sending it. You cannot beat a good free to play game with a stellar microtransaction store system. And Call of Duty fucking hit it out of the park with this one. So I'm super optimistic, and that's why I would have honestly held a console tournament, but it's a little bit hard. It's not really hard. Mobile was my first instinct because of how popular it is. It's ridiculously popular. And it's a good way to kind of just dip my toes in and see, oh, are people actually receptive to Call of Duty over PUBG, which is obviously more popular, and I don't really play PUBG. So Call of Duty Mobile is a really good like litmus test to see how Call of Duty would do on like, you know, a general kind of level. That is, everybody has it on their mobile phone. So I'm very optimistic for it. From this tournament, which I just had, super small prize pool, super small registration fee, but it still did pretty well, and it was really intense. About 32 participants in total, 16 teams. So that was pretty good.
Cool.
That's really good. That's
On that
amazing.
note, I think you spoke about Call of Duty Mobile being great and stuff, and they actually kind of leveled with PUBG. I think on that note, it's because they actually approached Transcend Games, who are the same. They were involved in PUBG as well. So I think that's why, and the whole Call of Duty aesthetic with all their tacticals, and I think it's a bit more zoomed in to speak in raw terms. It's a bit more zoomed into the player rather than zoomed out. The online multiplayer was a huge factor in it too. So yeah, that's great to hear how you navigate towards Call of Duty itself. Another thing could be your opinion on college sports. If you don't know what we're doing at ViDe E-Sports, do you have any idea what we're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to ask you that because, like, I've been seeing your posts. I started following your Instagram page about like 2 3 weeks ago, yeah, end of May, start of May. And I was super interested because it looked like a league kind of format, and that's what really interested me. Like you've got like titles of like colleges, and it's like that's super cool. Like I like tell me more about it, because like it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
So our initial, goal was to actually cover college gaming, right, as an add-on to the college sports which I spoke about earlier. But obviously, no one's doing anything in the college gaming scene. Like specifically, I'd heard from St. Joseph's College Autonomous, which is the other Joseph's, that they were going out to colleges and had like a legit team from the college itself in Call of Duty Mobile. So I was like, okay, that's like one. There's Satvik, who's SJCC, that makes sense. And then there's Megha, who's from Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering. So I knew right at the get, and I'm from a different college. So right at the get that we had a couple of teams. Obviously, I was procrastinating it a lot. All the boys actually, pitching in is what encouraged the whole ViDe E-Sports to happen. And yeah, we turned out to be a tiny version of a Call of Duty league. At least that's the seed. Yeah, we hope to grow according to that. And right now we are like streaming it live, which I never thought would be possible so soon, but it's happening. So yeah, we are excited. So yeah, that's why I wanted to know, like, what's your opinion on gaming in college, right? Like during these college years, whether it be 3 or 4, what is your opinion on it? Like, do you think college is the peak of any person's, number of hours spent on gaming itself? Is that where they develop all the skills and actually dig deep, watch other players play online, incorporate that into their own skill of gaming and stuff?
I mean, see, theoretically speaking, the perfect age category is 18 to 24 years old of gamers, okay, of like your gamers. They come under the most generic label category. But from personal experience of seeing the kind of people that come to my tournaments, I'm telling you, I had this FIFA tournament, right? This was at the living room. And this was one where we actually hit about 55 people, which was ridiculous now that I think about it in hindsight. It does not seem like a lot, but for me, it was insane because Fortnite had only 30 people. This one had 55, and the variety of crowd that came. So the youngest was this 11-year-old who came with his dad, all right? And then the oldest dude was this like, this guy was a dad himself, I'm pretty damn sure. Okay, and then there was this bodybuilder dude also. And then like, I'm telling you, it's the most diverse group of people. So I cannot really put a pin on it and say that, yeah, college is the peak, but I can definitely say, like, theoretically speaking, college gaming would make the most sense, because I mean the age category fits. And I would think engineering colleges now, again, you should like correct me if I'm wrong, My take is that engineering colleges, because they are probably engaging more with the electronic and computer science based stuff, maybe there's an overlapping interest of gaming in that. So I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Like even in the college I was associated with, we saw like a little bit of interest from the college itself to host kind of mobile gaming tournaments during their fest. So for sure there is. It's glad. I mean, I'm surprised you had that such huge variation in terms of age for your tournament. Like having an 11-year-old kid is pretty great, according to me. So cool. Yeah, on the Call of Duty mobile topic, how did the tournament go? I never asked. I think you made a little bit of rules change before after we spoke. Like, give us an idea how it went, how you felt about it, and are you like gearing up for another one? You're on mute, Kashish.
My bad. I am.
No worries.
Yeah. So one thing I kind of understood was that Call of Duty Mobile, although I played it a ton with my friends and I played casually, in like private lobbies, I definitely didn't know what the meta weapons were and what's OP and what's not. Okay, what's allowed and what's banned in normal scrimmages. So one thing I wanted the take of like the people who gamed, people who actually played the game. So that's why I kind of waited for people to join, and then I made a rule set of what I thought was acceptable, and accordingly I made a ton of changes. So that's the thing. I learn as I learn along the way, and I'm definitely not going to be hard-assed about the rules because I am not knowledgeable enough about that game. If it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare or it's Call of Duty Warzone, I will make the rules and I will not change it one bit because I know what works. But mobile, I just put my hands back and I said, let this play out. I want to see what people have to say. And I'll tell you one thing, organizing large scale tournaments, you cannot make everybody happy. It's just, I've tried so hard. I'm kind of person, I hate saying no to people. I hate turning people away. And, it's just one of the things I've like understood that, okay, fine, you stick with the route, you kind of have to go through it. So my route was let the rules be made along the way, kind of be a foundation for this first tournament. And then the next tournament I have, either I'll adopt like the full-fledged scrimmage rules, which ban like a bunch of things, or I'll kind of stick with this, which is a little more relaxed and a little more casual. So, I'm still figuring out the exact rules and the mechanics about how I want to go about it. This was a 2v2 tournament, not a 5v5 tournament. I want to have a 5v5 tournament and see how that goes. I want to see if people want the really strict rules, which ban a lot of perks and weapons, or I want to see if people want it to be more Call of Duty-esque and more relaxed and more casual. So let's see. I'm still like getting a feel for that. Not got a feel for it yet.
I think that's a pretty practical approach to take. But apart from specific games as such, I also want to know what your opinion is in terms of where esports is heading in India, right? So where do you see the esports industry in India, like let's say over the next 5-10 years? What do you see changing?
That's like I mean, like that question, like it changes every time. I mean, on my perspective on it changes every time I see something new. But I think in general, fundamentally, until the price of so before I say this, I preface it with like you kind of have to divide esports into platforms, in my opinion. That is, you've got your PC, you've got console, you've got mobile, and you've got your fighting game category, which comes under console also. All right, so PC and console gaming is at the forefront of esports right now, and mobile gaming is catching up really fast. Like it's going to be there, it's going to overtake it so soon because of countries like India and China, where mobile phones are becoming so accessible to like a large scale population. So but in the next 5-10 years, I definitely see a shift from console and PC gaming to mobile gaming, it becoming more mobile centric. However, at the same time, I don't want to sound negative in that light to mobile gaming, but fundamentally the start of esports was on PC. And until the price, or until PC gaming becomes affordable in India, there's absolutely going to be that like massive gap of like serious esports, massive gap. Because take a PC which would take 1.5 lakh to build in the US would probably take, I don't know, man, 2.5 to build in India. Everything is so heavily taxed, and the duties on imported goods are so much that it really kills that interest that a gamer might have. And it's like the barrier to entry into console and PC gaming is so high. It just like, it kind of sucks. And that's what mobile gaming, while I agree it's becoming fast and it's becoming big, you need to inherit esports as the whole package. That is PC, console, and mobile. You can't just have mobile gaming, in my opinion.
Sure.
Also, another quick question to everyone here. We all know that the PSP was like well ahead of its time. But see, I mean, looking at the way things are going now, especially since you brought up the whole point of mobiles becoming more accessible and actually people also wanting to game as they go, right? Now, people don't want to just game in a particular place when they're at home or when they're outside, right? They also want to game on the go. So, what are your thoughts on like a comeback for the PSP sometime in the near future?
The PSP, man, that was one thing. Like, I don't know, like the PS Vita was a resounding failure. That sucked. But the PSP, I mean, like I remember it sounds like a really good idea now that I think about it. But the mobile, your phone is able to emulate such amazing visuals. I don't understand, the real place for a PSP. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but I'm telling you, man, like I would have never imagined playing Call of Duty the way I am on a mobile phone. My mind is still blown now that I think about it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So I don't know if a PSP would actually, fare that well in comparison to phones, which do really well too.
Fair enough.
So yeah, on that note, right, I think a lot of PC gamers actually dismiss mobile gaming as a whole. I've heard that, like one of my friends who isn't associated with ViDe E-Sports, but who are actually, consistent PC gamers, they were like, bro, come on, mobile gaming, really? It's not really, you know. So they have
This
that
is
kind of opinion, and I think even though that opinion exists, the opinion exists among PC gamers, and like you said, how PCs as a whole, until they become affordable, we won't see that rise in esports as a full category yet.
yeah.
Makes sense. Um, Other than that, Maga, what about you? What's your opinion on PSP? I think you kind of liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I owned a PSP for like about 3 4 years.
Yeah, thought so.
Yeah, so that's where I actually started gaming. The PSP, then went to the PS3, then to the PS4. From what I feel is PSP at that point of time was pretty expensive. Not many people could afford it, and there was a reduction in the number of gamers in that console. Like people used to shift from PSP back to the PS. I mean, sorry, the comp because it was expensive. But I think like times like these, it would be really nice, to reintroduce the gaming console again as a newer version, compare it to the mobile gaming, which can act as a base, and it could really take on the whole new level, is what I feel. But now since people are used to mobile gaming and stuff, I
Mhm.
really don't think people would shift to PSP because they've got used to the for mobile gaming as well.
Mhm.
But from what I feel is that certain consoles are kind of expensive. I mean, that point of time, PSP was really expensive. But yeah, I think mobile gaming is the scene right now. I don't
Mhm.
think people would shift from mobile gaming to PSP is what I feel.
Yeah, for
I
sure. Convenience
Yeah,
is king, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
and and there are a lot of factors that you have to take in place. You have to carry a huge ass cord to charge your bloody PSP, and that's what I used to do all the time. And it's not like your basic mobile phone charger. You can charge every wire that comes with you. That's fine. But there's a lot of factors you have to consider while playing the PSP.
Yeah.
That includes your cost. What happens when the console gets affected,
Mhm.
and how much would a repair actually would cost for the console is really expensive. I mean,
Sure.
mobile, even if you damage your phone, you could probably get it fixed at a cheaper rate, is what I feel. So you have to consider a lot of factors, is what I feel. And yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think people would shift to PSP as of now, even if Sony would release another PSP.
Mhm.
I'm hoping, probably they would introduce a game like that. So let's see.
For sure.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, go
a
for it.
segue from that as well. So speaking about Sony, guys, the PS5 launch, I mean, or at least a little bit of details in the next 2 days, right, on June 4th. So what are your expectations for that? Like quick thoughts on that.
Did they delay it? Is the new deadline June 4th, or was it supposed to be earlier? I'm not
The
sure.
last
It
I
was
knew it was June 4th, right?
That was June 4th only. Yeah.
Okay, but no, my expectation of the PS5 again, like I'm like super excited because of the titles that they're actually releasing on the PS5, and it's God of War. There's Outriders. Outriders is this one insane MMORPG. And I'm forgetting Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and a couple of other titles that are slipping my mind right now. I was writing a few articles and I was doing the research on the games that are releasing. So a lot of the games that are releasing on the PS4 towards the end of this year are also going to be releasing on the PS5, right? So I think more than the graphics or maybe the appearance, the pure visual aspect of having a new, more advanced console, I'm looking forward as how to like how they're really gonna take forward these titles and make them different from what they were on the
Yeah.
PS4. Because like Sony has this habit of like I don't know the PS4 they released with a bunch of amazing exclusives. The PlayStation 4 exclusives. Sony has a really good habit of outdoing themselves with sequels and new titles. Their studios do a really good job in creating story-based,
Mhm.
compelling stories that sell really well with the console. As packages, you buy the console and you get 2 controllers and
Yeah.
3 games free. It's like a bargain. It's a bargain and a half. It's amazing. But that's what I'm really looking forward to from the PS5. And like, of course, apart from the visual aspect is
Yeah.
there, of course, but it's like, yeah, how the game's gonna really
Sure.
pan out, you know?
Cool. Of course, we gotta wrap this up with the ultimate question. TXC Gaming. I hate saying, what are your goals 10 years from now? Where do you see it 10 years from now? But what's that North Star goal? What's that one thing you really want to see TXC Gaming become?
Uh Here's the thing. This is gonna sound like super ambitious,
Bro,
especially for a person who's working
no,
alone
no,
right
we're
now.
all ambitious. Please go crazy. Just shoot for it. Shoot for the stars. Just tell us. We really want to know.
So goal is to kind of have a foot in like every single component of the gaming industry, whether it's in esports, whether it's in merchandise, clothing, and one huge, massive goal is actually investing in game development. This is something I grow. Before 10th grade, I wanted to do computer science and maybe take up game developing and the whole engineering aspect, and that's something that I always wanted, but due to academic limitations I didn't really get science. So it's one of those things I've always been super interested in, is the game development and publishing part of it. And that would be the epitome, kind of like the top of the pyramid, is actually be developing games where I don't really care if you're an indie developer or a AAA or whatever, developing a quality game that competes, that entertainment, smiles, and get out there on a really large scale. That's kind of like, you could say, a really short kind of package. Of course, there's like a whole lot of small sub goals, like actually having tangible products and value. I'm working on that right now, trying to figure out how I can integrate that with the tournaments and have both of them kind of feed off each other. And because I realized one thing, tournaments, while they are great, you cannot stop only at tournaments. You have to be doing more. It's a good idea, but it's not as sustainable as I would like it to be in India. Sustainable maybe somewhere else, but not in India.
Yeah.
So just for now, branch off into a whole lot of different content creation and tournaments, and future it's maybe game development and esports, having athletes and collaborations. So yeah.
That's fantastic. That's super
That's
inspiring.
awesome.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Kashish. I really,
Thank you so
really,
much for having me, man.
we really wanna like come up with some way to collaborate with TXC Gaming, pull off something. We'll get on that offline for sure as a team. Um, cool. I wish you nothing but the best. I really want you to achieve everything you just listed out, because I think you've positioned yourself very early on for it to happen, and mindset and execution will get it done. Pretty sure of that.
Thanks so much, guys. Best of luck to you guys too. I really like this whole idea of the podcast thing. This is super cool. Just like mad props to anybody who's in the esports space. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure Sarthak and Meghas will agree with me on having you on the podcast again. I'm pretty sure a bunch of stuff we haven't spoken about. So yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Sure,
All
yeah.
right.
Thanks for joining us,
Awesome.
bro. Cheers.
This was really
See
good.
you
Yeah.
soon. Bye bye.